Is that this one? Okay, sorry. Hello, there we go. Welcome to back to my podcast here. Podcast channel, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so I started shutting down my computer every night. Now it forgets that I have external mics and external cameras instead of using everything on board on my laptop, which is not as good quality. Trust me, not good quality at all, especially because my fans aren't working and I have external fans too. And because, like, man, and I'm not good at fixing audio either. Because when I did my dad's funeral, I forgot my external mic and my onboard mic. Ugh, it was poor at recording. Anyways, was, oh my gosh. I did this stream Friday. Only it was a little bit different. Like, it was about purity culture and a couple other things. I had like 3 subjects smashed into one. And then I got done with my stream, and later on I checked the stats, and turns out I forgot to hit a button on my studio, and it didn't get recorded. It didn't get streamed. It Okay, so I'm redoing this one, but I'm boiling it down to one subject. We're going to talk about purity culture, control, power, patriarchy, and women. I wasn't going to do this, but over the weekend while replanning this stream, I came across something on X that once again fired me up so I'm going to read this in a minute, but I came across something on X, and I was like, okay, fine, we'll boil it down to purity culture and why feminists went so crazy. Because the pendulum swings both ways. So the harder the pendulum swings this way, the harder it swings back that way. So you gotta be careful when raising children and everything, because how hard you throw the pendulum that way, that pendulum is going to come back this way in their adult years, and it's going to come hard this way before they learn life's lessons and it evens out, So I have that on my bookmarks. So purity culture. I was watching some more X-Mos. So if you come here and you're like, yes, purity culture is control and it is power, and that's how the patriarchy and my dad. Oh, hold on. Hello? Good, how are you? Sorry, my bad. Most people, this is why they record and edit, because now I should be like editing that clip out where I just left for 5 minutes because it's a really important phone call. So I had to leave for 5 minutes. And so, like, yeah, so I cut that. I should cut that. But I'm live. You can't cut things when you're live. So we're stuck with what we got. So, because I'm live. So, interesting. Okay. Nobody's chatting. Okay. So, anyways, let's get back to purity culture. I was watching some more Exmos. So, that should give it away that if you're here to say, yes, purity culture is control and power over the patriarchy, and screw the patriarchy, and they just want to control us, and blah, 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 well, you've come to the wrong podcast. But if you're here because you believe that purity culture is control and power, but not because the patriarchy, not because your dad, not because your husband, not because your brothers, not because a strong male figure in your life wants to control you. It's because it's your own personal power and your own personal control. People want to go through life and not have rules. And I noticed, like, especially there's this one Exmo. Oh, she can tell she hates rules. She hates it. You know, at one time I hated elderly people in authority, and I had a problem with the elderly people in authority, and I thought, oh, just because you're older than me doesn't mean you know better than me, and somewhat that still sticks, but not completely. Like, it's not the whole truth. Like, older people do come from a way different generation than us, and rules are there for a reason, and they just want to break them. I used to be like that too. I used to be the type of person that thought rules were made to be broken. Like, that's how I joked around as a teen, though. But I've grown up. But that was me as a teen. I was kind of like, oh yeah, rules are meant to be broken. Rules are made to be broken. Rules aren't made to actually follow. Rules are there to tell me what I could, like, break or something. It's like, and I used to love the saying about, like, bending it so far dang near, it comes from that movie Multiplicity, where they have to tell the original number one that they bent the rule and dang near broke it off. And then they're like, no, we broke it. We so broke that the rule. But yeah, Multiplicity was a funny movie. Um so yes, purity culture is ultimately, sorry, I was looking at, ultimately, is taking power and control over yourself, your own body, your own destiny, your own virtue, if you want to put it that way, your own virtue. And if we turn back to DNC 25, which I love and stand by and um, like to talk about, and I started when I rebranded myself wife like Emma Smith, it was meant to talk a lot about DNC 25 and to go over that and kind of like specialize in DNC 25. And okay, didn't know he went walking back down the street. I'm kind of watching what my husband's doing because I stream when he's busy. And tonight it's like off and on that he's busy. Whoa, okay. Anyways, where was I at? So the Lord told Emma at the very beginning to walk with virtue before him. And if she did this, she would be blessed. She would be able to get that queen status. Now, I mean, everybody wants the queen status. That's all great. But we shouldn't just focus on that. Like right now in Relief Society, it irks me a little bit that everybody keeps focusing on the words like power, elect, lady, queen. Elect means chosen. And my husband uses that quote that says, what is it? Many are chosen, many are called, few are chosen. Because the Lord told Emma, everybody who hears my gospel is my son and daughter. So there's your many are called. But then few are chosen, because then you do have the elect, like Emma, who was chosen. But that doesn't mean that you can't be elect in some way. Like I'm very proud of the LDS culture lately for Matt Jepson, Spiritual Survival, Michael Rush, everybody coming forward and coming out and making their own podcasts and stuff and teaching people about personal revelation and life changes and trials. And I watched this video also the other day, a beautiful video my husband showed me. This beautiful video. I think it was Holland. I think I recognized him as Holland. I think it was Holland. Great apostle. Love Holland. And he was talking about Jesus does not give trials. God does not. If you have a trial, it's not because God hates you. Don't think for 1 second. And there was this woman that was crying that she couldn't get pregnant. And it was heartbreaking because I know how she feels. Exactly how she feels. Our food, our system is built to break our bodies. The doctors, they lie to you. They're there to break you. I was talking to my counselor today, and she was, I mean, she's not LDS. She grew up in an LDS family. And, I think she grew up in an LDS family. She knows a lot about the LDS church, but she hates religion with a passion. And one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute in this episode is some of the stuff me and her talk about too, that I talk about with her. And because I'm a woman, I can't talk about it to many people, but I can talk about it to her because even though she's not LDS, but I am, we have the same point of view. Where was I going with this now? Because I sidetrack myself all the time. But we agree on a few things about these things. She hates the patriarchy too. Like, okay, I was talking about trials and God doesn't hate if you go through trials, like something like that. Anyways, and I love the story of Job, because there's a part in the story of Job that talks about that. And that we'll save that for another podcast, because this podcast is talking about purity culture. So let's get back to purity culture. So purity culture is keeping yourself modest, virtuous, clean, but Eximals aren't going to explain it to you that way. They're not going to explain it to you that the purity culture is actually taking control of your mind, your soul, your body, everything that you are. Changing your thoughts when bad thoughts come in, not entertaining bad thoughts when they come in, dealing with it, dealing with your body and the emotions that it feels and the urges that it feels. And its purity culture is all about, and nobody's gonna, like I said, explain it to you this way, but it truly is just, it is control and power, your own personal control and power. How much personal control and power can you take over your urges, your thoughts, your body, everything? How much can you take your own control? And that's actually what purity culture really is. It's not this, well, you can't do anything till you're married, and you can't be on top of another person, you can't make out with another person, you can't heavy pen. When I was with my first husband, I was going to his church for a while. I never went full apostate. Like, the LDS church was always in my heart. Even during the couple of years I was with my, so the whole 5 years I was with my ex, 3 years of dating, 2 years, no, 2 years of dating, 3 years of marriage, 2 kids in that. I often went to his mother's church. I often did. And his brother um played the bass guitar. I'm sitting here going, "Oh, bass guitar to church, huh?" That's, I will never feel like that. It's okay. I love hymns. I could never. It like took me a whole year, and once, and my mother-in-law at the time, that mother-in-law of mine, not my new mother-in-law because she's LDS, but my mother-in-law over my first husband, my first mother-in-law, she was so proud of me when I finally standed up and clapped during song service. But because I told myself, I said, by sitting here not clapping or anything during song service, you're actually the odd one. Even though you feel better and you feel dumb if you clap, but actually it's the other way around. So anyways, back to the story. Where was I going with this again? See, I sidetracked myself too much. As I was talking about, let's see. Oh yes. This church that they'd been in for over a couple of years, one of the rules was to date inside the church, which is really hard when you have a small congregation. And so there was these two people. One of them I actually went to high school with his brother, not him, but his brother, and his brother hates me, by the way. When his brother saw me walk in that church, like, he jumped in his truck and just sped off out of and he's like, "I can't believe you're dating her. I can't believe you're with her." And he's like, and he took off, speeding off, screeching tires out of the church. And he's like, "I just can't believe you're with her." And I was like, "Ooh, gosh." It's like, I knew you hated me, but not that much, man. So anyways, his brother was getting married to the pastor's daughter, the pastor's oldest daughter. And as we were sitting there waiting for them to walk down the aisle, my boyfriend explained to me that this is their wedding and they've never kissed, and this will be the first time they've done anything beyond hold hands. And immediately I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. They've only held hands, they haven't kissed, they haven't touched you. What?" Here I am, pregnant 17-year-old. Well, I don't think I was pregnant at the time, I can't remember, or close to that time. But here I am, stupid, like 16, 17-year-old, laughing at two adults who chose to keep themselves completely pure till their wedding day. I mean, literally, like I said, holding hands is the farthest they've gone. And I made fun of that. And now I wish I was then. I'm envy that. But people would have you believe that that wasn't their choice, that they didn't make that choice, that they were pressured into that choice. And had they got to do whatever they wanted or whatever they feel, they might have a better life. They might have something better. And so they're Pentecostal. So they weren't even LDS. They were Pentecostal. I mean, so this purity culture isn't all on LDS people. And these ex-Mormons are going out there and they're getting down on this purity culture. And they're punishing the Mormons for it, the LDS people for it. They're punishing the LDS church for it. And yeah, we do have the biggest voice out there. when it comes to purity culture, because like I said, this little Pentecostal church, I mean, they do have revivals once a year down in Arizona, but they're not an organized worldwide religion. It is a local religion. The pastor quits, the church is gone. Like if my bishop were to quit, they would just call a new one, and we would hang in there. We've actually gone without a bishop before, because one time our bishop got pulled 2 years into it. You're usually a bishop for about 5 years. My father-in-law was a bishop for 6 years. Um, Usually, like when I was dating my husband, he was in his last 2 weeks of being bishop, and so I met him as he was ending being bishop, and so I didn't get to really experience him being bishop because I just barely met him as he was exiting his calling. But he got pulled up into the state presidency. And so we didn't have a bishop for a while because it was like a sudden thing that they just pulled our bishop. And my mom got like some kind of quote from him about saying, he said something about like it's you would think that, I guess it was a good thing, but I don't know. But anyways, he got pulled and we didn't have a bishop for a while, but our ward kept going because we had all the other leaders in place. We were just waiting for somebody to be called as bishop, and I think it took like a couple weeks to a month or something. Like we were out of bishop for a minute. Like it was a good minute we were out of a bishop. But every ward is different and things happen differently. But the thing is if a pastor decides to up and move and be like, oh, I'm either going to quit being a pastor or I'm going to go to this other bigger church. Like I've seen Pentecostal. I saw one church that had two pastors. I went to it for a little because my mother-in-law quit that one because it turns out the pastor, I guess he was spending the money ill-advised and stuff. And I mean, they do get paid to be a pastor. That is kind of their job. So it's really hard. The money situation is hard because like bishops don't get paid. Okay. Bishops don't, it's a volunteer position, and pastors do, but also members expect the money to be spent in a certain area too. So they can't just wildly use the donation money that comes in because it is still for the church. So like, I don't know how much a pastor's actually allotted. And in Joseph Smith's time, Sidney Rigdon talks about how the church was paying them a good wage, and they were also building a home for him and his wife. When he turned to his wife and said, do you want to follow me into, the life of poor again? You want to follow me into this life to be LDS? It's like, we're going to give up this money and this comfortable life and this brand new house that we're going to get. And houses at that time were very small. And so if somebody was giving you a bigger house, like it was a big deal because families all slept in 1 or 2 rooms of houses. Like this room that I'm sitting in could be the size of like 2 houses, maybe a little bit bigger. And because houses were often just one big room. Sometimes they had an upstairs, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes when Emma finally got to Nauvoo, they had that mansion house, and that's one of the things she didn't want to lose when Joseph died. And so these 2 pastors were over this really big church, and we went there for like a year. And see, I don't get this because nobody's perfect, okay? But I can see the mindset in a way because like there was these 2 pastors were coming up with things to teach on Sunday. And they thought, let's be honest with our congregation. Not only talk to them about, how do I want to say this on the stream? Corn nogger? About corn? Yeah, corn. Corn. And they wanted to come clean about their addiction to it. Church got up and left. They're done. We're done. And I was like, oh my gosh, for a whole year. A year later, me and my mother-in-law were walking out of a McDonald's, and we saw one of the church members, and he's like, "Hey, come back. We're like getting the church back together." Like, this was a big church. Like, it was like 10 times the size the one she came from. So the original one we started at when I first was dating my boyfriend, and through my marriage to him, they went to this much bigger one that had to have two pastors, and it had two levels, and they were putting on live plays at Easter time, and big, massive church. But the second they let somebody know, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they were talking about how this guy got called to be a stake president, and he said, "I can't do that job. I can't be called to be a stake president. I have a bad addiction." And they said, "Well, guess what? You'll work that out, but you're being called." And then that made me think differently, because I've known some bishops that weren't perfect, and I have judged them. And I'm done judging them, because the Lord has never called perfect people, it turns out. And I forgot that. And so when I heard this podcast talking about the bishop that had the addiction and he gets called, or the stake president, called him to be a stake president while he was in the middle. They knew he could get done with his addiction. They knew, which was great, because it gave him the opportunity to do it and become a better stake president. And so, they'll, and I don't know how many of the ward members or anybody knew about it, or the stake. But like, our church doesn't just break up when you find out somebody's imperfect and they've committed a sin. And I had a friend in one of my wards, and everybody secretly knew her dad was excommunicated, but he was still going to church every single Sunday with his family. And he was in our plays, our stake plays, and we looked up to him, and he was a really good guy. He had a weak moment. I'm not going to talk about it, but he had a weak moment in time. And instead of going to his bishop and talking to his bishop, he chose sin, which was bad. But he's so faithful. But excommunication isn't meant to say bye forever. He'll get I don't know if he's been rebaptized. It's been a long time. Like, I think that was like around my early marriage to my current husband. So like 20 years ago. Well, it was a teen when I met him, but like, I still knew him like 20 years ago and stuff. And it's been over 20 years. So I wonder, like, it's been probably like 30 years. I wonder if he's been rebaptized and everything yet. But anyways, back to purity culture. It's kind of interesting because, yeah, purity culture is a Christian thing. It's everywhere in the Christian denomination. So I'm going to read something from, we're going to talk about it, read something from X, because this falls into purity culture. So we have purity culture, and just like everything in this world, things can go wrong. So you have purity culture, and there's nothing wrong with purity culture. Like I explained, what purity culture really truly is. It is control and power. It's control and power over your own body, your own self. It's actually really great power. Actually, it's really great control, really great power. But the thing is, and we're going to go into the second half of what I was talking about. I got to go to my bookmarks real quick. Hold on, bookmarks. I read this over the weekend, and it just fired me up to be like, okay, well, I'm going to change my talk. I'm going to keep it to purity culture, but I'm going to add this into it, and we're going to talk about this. Okay. And I'll substitute some words because I don't know. Okay, anyways, let's substitute some words. So female O should be avoided at all costs. And this is the source of all evil. Let's talk truth about the female O. This is only one simple rule about the female O. It's a sin. It's a selfish sin that females have been tricked into believing is a right by the feminist movement. O is the right of men. Smex is not meant to be pleasurable for females. Schmex is reserved for reproductive purposes when it regards the female body. O serves biological function for the male. It releases seed into the female's body for breeding. However, the female O serves no reproductive purposes. Therefore, it is not necessary for female. So they're saying all reproduction, no recreation. And this is actually how I was raised, to be shamed, to enjoy. And me and my counselor, we just love just blowing up and laughing about this part of the culture. See, it's not parody culture that's totally wrong. What it is it's that part of the parody culture that tells women what they can and can't enjoy. What is a sin? No lawnmower. And he's smiling. And like, should I go check on that? Okay. And this is what so pisses me off. Is when this gets taught. The shame part of the parody culture. When two people date and they're engaged, oh my gosh, seriously, what's the number one question everybody gets asked? Especially at their wedding. What's the number one question that you get asked at your wedding? So, when the baby's coming. Because you're getting married, so everybody knows now you can have schmecks. Now you can have schmecks now, okay? You're totally allowed to now. He's carrying a can of gasoline. Should I talk to him over the speaker? Just kidding. So, what was I gonna say? So, gosh, I always sidetrack myself. Okay. So whenever somebody gets married, like people won't stop thinking about that. Why don't you just be happy that two people are getting married, two people are joining their lives, two people are deciding to pair up? Like I was sitting downstairs a couple hours ago on the couch watching X while waiting for my husband to get off work. And there was this video, really cute video, of these two lions. And the lady lion is laying on the grass, and the male lion comes up and he just grabs her and hugs her, and they start rolling around and like hugging each other and like nipping at each other, because that's what lions do. Like don't bite your husband, but lions can do it, but you don't. But anyways, even nature knows that nobody wants to be alone. Even nature knows that you pair up. Now, it doesn't matter the reproduction of nature. We shouldn't worry about that. Oh, we'll see horses, the dads carry the baby. Oh, and penguins, the dads take care of the baby and the moms go do the hunting. The lionesses go do the hunting and the men strut around and take care of the pride. Well, that doesn't matter. That's how nature works. But nature still knows that no one wants to be alone. And a lot of nature, especially like lobsters, people talk about lobsters. I want to be your lobster. There are certain ones that mate for life, like lobsters. I'll be back in 2 secs. Hold on. Okay, sorry, was seeing what was going on because I didn't know if he's going to mow the lawn or not. Okay. Yeah, I know I shouldn't leave midstream. People get upset at that because they're like, oh my gosh, your stream went blank for 2 seconds. I know. Sorry. Anyways, talking about women being shamed. So this is where feminism goes off the rails. Like I said, the pendulum swings both ways. Really hard. So when you shame women, then they go riot for the right for females to have pleasure. Because why do females get robbed of that? It's not a sin. I have never once, besides my own parents, been told by any bishop or any other member that it's procreation only, not recreation. Because people talk about, let's talk about the real thing. Why is it bad? Because lately, the red pill people have been coming down on the feminists and women about their body count. Why? Because the female O is more sacred, I would have to say. Because that dopamine rush that you get, that love rush that you get, that helps you connect to the human being you're with, the person you're with, your partner, the person you're with. That helps the connection. And so it is considered, way more sacred. Because we have different hormones attached. We are built different than males. We have different hormones attached to that. And so it's not a sin. It is sacred. And so you should never shame your daughter, your child. And when your child gets married, you shouldn't be thinking, what's wrong with you if all you're focusing on is you're probably focusing more on their honeymoon night than they are. I mean, it's probably a little bit in the back of their head, but it's on the forefront of yours. And all you're doing is staring at your child going, yeah, I know they're no denial. Mm-hmm. Is that really how you want to think about your child? We have a tendency, as soon as we see two people get together, start thinking about. There was this one guy who's really funny. When I was dating my husband, he literally pulled my husband aside right in front of me. And he said, you want to be with her? He's like, you shouldn't be with her. And he gave him this talk. And we left that job. We ended up leaving that job. And later on, a year later, I went back to that job. And that guy was still there. And I had my wedding photo on me, my engagement photo. And I went up to him and showed him my ring and my engagement photo. And the first thing he said is, and he has this funny accent, so I don't know, I can't do the accent. The accent is the funny part, because half of it is what he says, and half of it isn't as crazy. And he's got a weird name too, and I'm not going to say it online because I'm not going to dox him. I wish I could say his name because it's an interesting name. And in his funny accent, he's like, he's doing you now? And I'm like, and that's all you can think about. That's all you can think about. Is I say, hey, look, he did marry me. We're happily married. And his first thought, and it's just laughable, and it's just funny, and and the problem is we are so concerned as a society. Let me say that right. We are so concerned as a society what other people are doing behind closed doors that we're going off the rails. We're going crazily off the rails, putting our nose in other people's businesses. I was laying in bed the other morning, and I woke up, and my husband was laying on his back, and he was awake and just staring off into space. And I looked up at him, and I was sitting there staring at him. And I've been with him for 23 years. And the first thought that came to my mind was, I wish my mom and my family could see him for the person that I see him as and respect my decision to be with him. Because they don't. And it's sad because they're missing out on getting to know a really good person. And why would your daughter choose this person? Like, why? And you should be happy and wanting to get to know him, because there's a reason why your daughter connects with him and gets to know him. But instead, no, they want to hate on him and make fun of him and put him down and blah blah blah, blah whatever. Anyways, I always swore that I don't care who my kids marry, I'm gonna love them no matter what. And I'm keeping to that promise because my oldest son is married, and I didn't butt in on their wedding. I didn't butt in on anything in their lives. I don't tell them what to do. Maybe I should call them and tell them what to do more often, but I don't. And I've done nothing but love my daughter-in-law, even though she says the meanest things about me. I still am nice to her. So, sorry, my throat keeps getting stuck. But anyways, that's the biggest problem I see in purity culture. Is we're butting in businesses, telling people and getting mad at them when we don't do as they say, but probably not as they do. It's like, I don't know how much I should say of my life, because I got a funny stupid thing of do as I say, not as I do, that my mom said to me last year. To shame me once again. To shame me. Because like I said, I grew up being shamed. And here I am in my early 40s, still being shamed by my mom. She's still saying stuff to shame me. Like, should I tell the story? Just kidding. I'm like, should I? I don't know who watches my stream. I don't think my family does. I don't. And so it's like, I don't know if I should say some of the stuff they say. But last year, so when I had my youngest son, who's now 9, when I had him, the doctor that I went to, she likes to do the IUD. And I didn't want to do the IUD because it's not like a friend of a friend of a friend. I know, like, chain of story kind of thing. No, I have a friend that it went wrong and it poked a hole in her uterus and she almost died. It was bad. But then she ended up getting pregnant a month later. She's okay now. She got 6 kids and she's fine. But she talked me into the IUD. And I said, fine, I'll get the IUD. And she's like, come on, it's 5 years worth of birth control. Okay, fine, I'll get it. 5 years goes by. I am now living in a different city. I moved 20 or so miles away from where I used to live. 20 miles in a mountain and everything, and a very long highway between us and that city. Like, I moved a good ways away. That 20 miles is actually quite a bit. So anyways, new city, new doctor. I go to him and I said, it's 5 years. It's time to change this out. And I was like, well, since how I survived these last 5 years, I guess I'll do it again. And they look at me and they're like, well, we don't specialize in that, Rose. Like, we specialize in, like, the one you put in the next one on the bar you put in your arm, and it lasts like 3 years. And I was kind of looking at them like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I heard a long time ago that if you get those bars and you're really thin, and I'm a really thin person, I'm a really skinny person, that you would see the bar Like some people could see the bar on my arm. But they talked me into it. I agreed upon it. I went and got it. The little scar right there. So they inserted it in, but yeah, I'm thin, but you couldn't see it. Okay, you couldn't see it. So 3 years goes by, which is last year. Um, 3 years goes by. We get to last year, and I go in and I say, okay, I guess it worked. I said, let's do it again. Another 3 years, let's go. And well, okay, no, we gotta rewind. Okay, so before I went to the doctor, they had told me 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, how this gets removed. They have to cut a little slice in your skin and push it out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was on the phone with my mom, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I was like, I'm not looking forward to my doctor's appointment tomorrow because I got to go get this changed out, which means they got to cut a tiny little hole in my arm, push this little plastic thing out. I hate surgeries and stuff. Oh gosh, I hate dentists. I hate having people work on my body. I don't like people cutting and working and touching my body. And this is the funny thing. So my mom's on her second marriage now. And her response to me getting the birth control out was, you don't have to go beyond birth control. She said, schmex is a choice. And you can just choose not to. And after I had my first son at 17, my mom told the doctors, oh, she doesn't need to be put on birth control. I'm not putting my daughter on birth control. She said, because abstinence is the answer. So it was kind of funny because I'm like, yeah, it's a choice. So you can see how she's shaming me. It's a choice. It's not recreation, and it's a sin. And I turned to her and said, well, what about you? Is it a choice? And she says, it's none of your business. And I was like, so do as you say, not as you do. So it's a choice for me. I get lectured, I get shamed. It's a choice for me. And so this is the part that I hate. And I'm not blaming the LDS Church for it, because it's not the LDS Church's problem. It's people's own moral compass. You choose your own moral compass. And this is her moral compass, to shame me. She's been shaming me since I was like 13. That little thing I read earlier, I mean, that's pretty much what I was literally taught growing up. And that's why I'm so worried about my daughter, because that's not what I want her being taught. I didn't bring a daughter into this world to control her and tell her what to do and tell her how she can and can't feel. But I did bring her into this world to raise a joyful, happy child with morals and ethics and a good moral compass, and to be kind to everyone and to love everyone and to obey the Lord and serve. And that's what I did bring her into this world for. To be part of my family, to be part of my eternal family, to not to shame her for anything she wants to do that falls within that good moral compass. And to want to, the as the Bible would say, to know your spouse, to know them. It literally, the Bible, I love how it phrases it. Like the Bible says he knew his wife and then she conceived. And so, what do you think the Lord means when he says, and he knew her? That doesn't sound like a choice we should not be making. Because he said, and he knew her. He knew her. That's how he knows his wife fully and completely and thoroughly. He knows her. He knew her. So I'll go ahead and I guess wrap this up. I hope I've helped you guys on purity culture. Like, it's throughout the Christian religions, and these ex-Mormons are blaming the church for it. And they're like, well, I had to marry a husband that I only knew for like 2 months, and I hated him and he hated me, and it was a horrible 20 some odd years of hating each other and being disgusted by each other. Yet we still made 5 kids apparently. And whatever happened on your wedding night has nothing to do with purity culture. And also, I don't know why you're complaining about purity culture when you weren't you lost your V card before your wedding, not to the husband you were marrying, but to other guys, and you're kind of hinting that it was probably more than one, that you got a little bit of a body count. Yet for some reason, the one that you married in the temple, you did hold off till marriage according to you. And then you disassociate and disgusted by him on your wedding night and acted like it was the R word. Like he raped you, basically. Like, how is that the LDS church's fault? How is it the church's fault? The choices you made, the choice you chose to marry somebody you didn't love. I don't blame anybody for my first marriage. I hate that my mom and my sister and everybody kind of pushed me to him and pushed me and talked about, are you guys going to get married? You guys going to get married? You've been dating for 6 months. Are you going to get married? Are you going to get married? And I hated that. I really did. But overall, every choice I made was mine. Every step down that aisle was my choice. Every and when I it's kind of funny because yeah, in every choice, yeah, divorcing him was my choice, and every step of getting remarried was my choice, and every step I make today is my choice. So yeah, I don't see how you're faulting, because like, why are you're a feminist now, and you don't care about your body count anymore and or anything like that, and people are telling you that what you're doing is wrong, yet you're choosing to say, no, I'm not, this is actually finally the right life to live, I'm finally living my rightful life. Okay, well, fine. Why didn't you do that? I mean, I know about being young, dumb, and stubborn. Like when I was probably until about around the age of 25 or so, you couldn't tell me anything because I knew myself and I knew what was right for me, and nobody could change my mind. Yeah, and a bishop sits you down and says, I think you should be doing this, and you say, no, no, I think I should be doing this because this is who I am. And that's all young people. Your 20s are always the biggest mistake of your life. You get if you do life right, you gain knowledge in your 30s. And by the time you're 40s, you live with a lot of regrets. You're repenting for a lot of things you did over the course of your lifetime, and you're trying to make things right because now not only have you gained wisdom, but you've gained back your virtue, your wisdom, your soul, where you were solely going off. Me and my husband were talking the other day because he asked me something about my emotions. And I said, you remember when I was dating you, how I used to listen to Terry Clark a lot? Who didn't love Terry Clark in the mid 90s? I mean, Terry Clark was one of the hottest women country music artists out there besides Shania Twain. Like Terry Clark was right next to Shania Twain. Shania, of course, was a ton more popular than Terry, but Terry was amazing. And she has this song called "Emotional Girl." And I told my husband, I said, "Well, back in my day, I related to this song, and it was my excuse for the longest time to behave the way I was behaving, because this song told me it was okay to behave this way. But I know now that that's not the way to behave, and I shouldn't have listened to it. It's a good song in a way, I guess, but now not really anymore. Like now I look back on it and I'm going, well, actually, no, it's not a good song. You should do the opposite of everything Terry Clark says." Yeah, and don't rob Peter to pay Paul, by the way. So if you know Terry Clark, you get that reference. If not, go look it up. But yes, she's a great artist. But and back in that day, her songs, I appreciated them. I did, but I don't anymore. So, anyways, I hope I've given a better understanding to purity culture. I hope I've given a better understanding to DNC 25 for you guys. I really hope that women come back. It's okay. Just look at Emma's promise. We are, like I said, God says you can't have joy without mercy. You can't have glory without condemnation. Our husbands and our Heavenly Father take the glory because they take the condemnation. And they share the glory with us, but not the condemnation. And I know this. And so this is why we are not meant to step up and take the glory. We are queens to our husbands. We are elect ladies. We are queens to our husbands. But they are the ones who stand up and take it all. They take the pain and they take the joy and they take the condemnation and the glory, and they take all the blasphemy and all the praises, because you can't be praised by some people but not blasphemy by some. There were people who loved Jesus when he was here on this earth, would do anything for him. They said, "Lord, why are you washing my feet? I should be washing yours." And he said, because everybody, no matter what position you're in, should be serving each other. And is that a horrible patriarch? Did Jesus show us he was a horrible patriarch when he got down and washed everybody's feet? When he said, "Let Mary Magdalene, let this be her legacy, that she oiled me up out of reverence to, I know I'm going to be unalive soon. In a couple days, I will go to Israel and I will no longer be with you guys. Let her go down in glory for this service. Let her go down. And let this be her eulogy. That she did this for Christ. That she served Christ." And so we have to, like I said, we have to let them take the glory and the condemnation, the praises and the blasphemy, the joy and the pain, and we share it with them, but they protect us from it. And we in DNC 25 also said for Emma to speak to her husband in meekness, meaning to constantly remind her husband of the service Be in service to him and remind him that he's in service to Christ, who is in service to the Lord. And that's how it works. And that's your little triangle that people hate because you got the husband, the wife, and Christ. And they hate that. And it should always be that way. And remember, if you only hold hands until you're married, it's not a bad thing. Quit thinking what the world wants you to think. Quit thinking, well, the world wants me to do more than hold hands. That's not what we're here for. We're here to always remember him, always remember Christ and what Christ wants. And he wants you to do nothing more than hold hands until you're married. And then you can know them, is his words, the Lord's words. Then you may know them. So, yeah, I'll wrap it up, I guess. And hopefully this has helped you guys. And hopefully I've helped you understand D&C on a 25 on a deeper level. That your husband, your priesthood holder, your patriarch, share his life with you, but let him be the one that takes on the storm and protects you from the storm. Quit running out in droves into the arms of feminists who say you should marry a man that answers to you. Because Satan does always take everything the Lord designs and turns it upside down. And so God has designed a patriarchal system that no, males are not to take advantage of. They're not to boss their wives around and take advantage of it. Because once you take advantage of it, you don't have it. The Lord does not extend his power to you when you misuse it. You have to repent and be right. Joseph Smith even couldn't translate one day when he got angry at Emma. He had to apologize and spend 2 hours praying, and Oliver Cowdery and everybody had to wait. And Sidney Rigdon had to wait for him to get right with Emma and the Lord and humble himself, be meek again. And see, so Joseph had to also be meek to his wife. He couldn't translate until he apologized to Emma for his anger. And he loved that woman and he treated her well. And through that, he constantly had the power to translate and get revelation because he did not mistreat his wife. He protected her. Did Emma ever get tarred and feathered? Did Emma ever suffer any physical punishment? No. Joseph took it all. Because that's how things are to be. And so we are there to be there, to speak to our husbands in meekness and remind him that we serve him, he serves Christ, and Christ serves the Lord. And I don't get why that's such a bad system. I don't get why people have to go bend and break those rules. So, anyways, I hope I helped you guys on purity culture and showing you. I'm taking Satan's control and power and I'm toppling it back over where it should be. Because he's toppled it over. He's twisted the words power and control. And I'm putting it back. For you guys, I'm putting it back. All right, well, thank you for listening. And give me some comments down below. Oh gosh, I got so much things to talk about. It's kind of like I have to go back and look at like what I want to talk about, but there's so many things I want to talk about. Maybe we'll even talk about the CES letters later that is driving Mormons away and it's breaking up families and stuff. And some families have gone back together, some haven't. Like the CES letter is tearing everybody apart, and Exmos are loving to use the CES letter. But that was one of the subjects I talked about, but it didn't get recorded. So I just wanted to, like, let's just do one subject: purity culture and shaming women. Don't do it, guys. Don't shame your women. Love them. President Nelson a couple years ago, 3 years ago, said it is an abomination to the Lord to abuse children and to abuse women. And after you're done with your earthly punishment, you will answer to him for it. Respect him. Don't shame him. And I think shaming falls under that category. If you shame your wife and everything, if you shame them, like, that's mental abuse. So I think that shaming somebody, shaming women for wanting to know their husbands recreationally, I consider that abuse. I consider that emotional abuse. I truly do. And I think you have to repent of it. And if not, you will answer to the Lord for the abuse that you inflicted upon the person that you shamed. That you told them that they couldn't do it, couldn't enjoy it, shouldn't do it. So I'll leave you guys with that. So stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay spiritual. And I'll see you guys again. I made some really good pancakes the other day. I tweaked a regular recipe instead of using these carnivore recipes where you do eggs and whatnot. And I think I finally found out the wrap. So I need to do some more cooking videos for you guys. And so we'll do some more cooking videos, because I'm going to, tomorrow, watch for my stream, because we are going to make salmon jerky. I'm going to make salmon into jerky. And we're going to make some fruit jerky too. We're going to make fruit and salmon jerky tomorrow. So stick with me, and we'll do some recipes tomorrow, okay? Look forward to that salmon jerky, salmon and fruit jerky. We're going to do it. And it's going to be fun and tasty. And I can't wait for my husband to try his salmon jerky as soon as it's done. I have to take a picture. But, like, blot out his face. No, I'm just kidding. Love you guys. Stay spiritual. I will see you.